Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. My name is, you probably already know my name, but it's Kevin McDonald, just in case you don't. And I'm glad that you're here because I've got a very, very, very interesting guest today that we're going to be talking about a lot of different aspects of yoga and philosophy and spirituality and how it all works to put it together and stuff. And because I don't know if you can see her name, if you're watching this, you can see it and I can't begin to pronounce it. So I'm going to call her Swami during the course of this discussion, but her last name is Swami. Go ahead.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks. First of all, just thank you. I really appreciate the welcome. I'm excited to talk with you. And the name that my teacher gave me when he consecrated me as a Swami was Swami Nityananda. My teacher was named Swami Shankarananda.
Oh, very nice. So do you know what that means?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So my teacher would have translated it as the bliss of one who loves the eternal. And so it also could be translated as eternal bliss. And the idea is that this is a reminder for everyone that within us is light. And the light that is within us is boundless. You also could call this the energy of pure love. And when we are in contact with that in us, which is infinite and eternal, then even in the midst of time and space, it's possible to live in joy and freedom. And so, I mean, you can hear this in your voice, in the intro and in your conversation. You're sharing that joy and freedom in the ways that are natural for you to share that joy and freedom.
Well, and I thank you for that because you also have got a great smile. You've got great energy about you, and it's pretty amazing the incredible things that you've done. Now, I want to go back in the midst of time because you weren't born a Swami. How did you get to be? What was the events of your life that took you down that road so that you could learn about all the things that you know now?
So, good question. And I'll just say I met my teacher, Swami Shankarananda, in 2010. And my teacher founded our meditation community. We are Awake Yoga Meditation. We're geographically in Baltimore, Maryland. We share teachings online on all sorts of different platforms. So people across the globe, across the country are able to join in our meditations. So my teacher founded our community, taught the teachings of yoga philosophy and kriya yoga meditation for almost 40 years before he left the body, as yogis say, before he passed in 2014. And before he did, he trained me and asked me to serve as his successor, and he consecrated me as Swami Nityananda. So that's that part of the question. Do you have any follow-up about that, or should I loop back further in time?
Well, no, go back further in time because
Perfect.
there was, like at the beginning of the show, I talk about there's a point in time when we all say, at least everybody that I've met so far has at one point or another said, why am I really here? Would somebody please just tell me what this is all about? Because I go from thing to thing, disaster to disaster, experience to experience, but I don't have any idea what the heck's the point. And I want to learn what the point is and why am I really here and how can I live my best life and be the most successful. Did you have a moment like that?
So I would actually say, okay, I was born as Juniper Ellis. So Juniper Ellis is the name my parents gave me. And I grew up in the beautiful state that you are in. So I grew up in Washington State. And I grew up very connected to nature. So anyone who knows Washington State knows there's lots of evergreens and mountains and lakes. And it's also nature has to be reckoned with. It's a force that demands respect. And so I grew up very much embedded in nature and aware that my body was connected to nature and nature was an extension of my body as well. So I call it natural oneness. I grew up with that awareness. And then I would say one of the pivotal things that happened, I became a professor and I have served for 27 years as a professor at a university. Absolutely love every single minute of that. But about 20 years ago, one of my friends said, "You should do yoga," just out of the blue. Like, this was a friend who did yoga. And then the very next week, a friend said, "You should do yoga." And I sort of paid attention. I was like, okay, the universe is telling me something. And the second friend actually lived in Baltimore, as I still do. And she said, "You should do yoga with me." And she lived kind of like partway between where I live and the yoga studio. So for maybe 2 years, every Monday, I would drive and I would pick up my friend and we would go do yoga at the yoga studio. And so that was my introduction to yoga. And I think for most people in this country, that is what they think of. If you say the word yoga, they think of like you go to a yoga studio, you practice physical postures, you do asana. I love that kind of yoga. I still do it every day. I've done it every day for about 20 years. But traditionally, if you look at the origins of where those practices come from, they are preparatory. They are actually introductory, and they are designed very specifically to help the body be calm and steady and balanced, and the mind be calm and steady and balanced in order to meditate. So when I met my teacher in 2010, that's what I embarked upon, was yoga meditation and yoga philosophy. And I would actually say that, I'm just speaking for myself, yoga is one of my languages. And so for every listener, I'm just inviting you to identify what are your languages. Like, some people can speak the language of math in a way that I can't. Some people can speak the language of like AI or tech or computer programming in a way that I can't. So yoga for me is just one of my natural languages. And so I was aware as soon as I started doing the postures, this is moving energy. And I could feel the way the energy was moving through me. And almost immediately, that led me to meditation. And then after I had meditated for a few years, that led me to my teacher. When I met my teacher, that was like, I would say a light bulb moment, except like maybe if you put 10,000 light bulbs in a room and they all go off at the same time. Like, literally, I was at a Friday night meditation. My teacher walked into the room and it was like time stopped. And I recognized, this is my teacher. This is the real deal. And my life is changing. And interestingly enough, my teacher actually had the exact same experience when he met his teacher as well. So this is apparently a thing that can happen. Like, you see your teacher and you just recognize, that is a real teacher. That is my teacher. My life's about to change.
And that is part of the core value of you planned that before you even got here, I think.
Probably.
That you were going to meet your teacher. And you know, it's interesting because that is in my life, whether it be a coach or a teacher or a valued friend or something, like that's how it works, is that you are drawn to somebody because of their energy and it matches your energy or where you want your energy to be. You know, it's kind of like, I want to have what they've got, kind of thing. And that's when you start to really understand a little bit more about yourself and about what you're really about and where you're trying to go. And it's not, you don't resonate with everybody, right?
I love what you said. I mean, so I would invite listeners to look back over your life. I do agree there are sort of like, I don't know what the right way to put this is, very key, meaningful people at every point of our life. And so, for example, like my fourth grade teacher, my fifth grade teacher, totally pure love, one of the great loves of my life, like just an amazing teacher, fourth grade teacher, fifth grade teacher. Like, how incredible is that? But I think when you look back over your life, you can see that there are these amazing humans who kind of serve as like anchors at very pivotal points, like for my 9-year-old self or however old I was when I was with that teacher. And I think this is actually true. Like, you mentioned coaches, or they can be like music teachers, or, just like along the way, there are these humans who sort of like carry a torch of light and help light your path and light your way on. And it's really an incredible gift to be able, for every human, to look back over your life and identify like, who are those points of light. The other thing that I would say, and I'm inviting listeners with a smile to tune into this, I think that your listeners serve as points of light all along the way for people that they encounter. And I think sometimes we know this, sometimes humanly people will say, you said that for me 20 years ago and it made this difference in my life then. You might not even remember. So just be aware as well that for every listener, you are that. You are carrying the light for people. Like you are helping people connect with what is highest and best. And often it's just you naturally being you. And the divine, that's my word for it. I know some people would call it the universe. The divine will actually place you exactly where you need to be. If you're open and you're sort of like, yes, I want to be here, I want to be helpful, I want to be hopeful, the divine will nudge you and guide you and put you in that exact right time, that exact right place, not only to meet those people who help you, but also to help you pass on the light that you carry, because that's the basic intrinsic teaching of yoga philosophy, is that each of us is light. In our own true nature, that's what each of us is. So our deepest reality, we're not actually tired. We're not cranky. We're not quirky, whatever human things. That's not the deepest reality. The deepest reality is each being is an amazing, eternal being of light. And so in yoga and in yoga philosophy and yoga meditation, that's what you realize is that's my true nature. And then you're free. Like in the midst of everything that you encounter in time and space, you're able to simply allow that light to naturally, spontaneously share. And it's going to share through each human using the talents and the skill sets of that human. So it's like with your families, with your workplaces, with your neighborhood, with your community, exactly where you are, you're perfectly positioned. And the light is already with you. The light is already within you.
I want to take everybody back to the mists of time. And I'm going back to the 60s. And I was and this is my story. When I was 9 years old, I decided I wanted to play Little League Baseball. Now, I was the youngest of three. I was considered the smaller. I was considered the less than. I wasn't smart enough and stuff, but I wanted to play baseball. And so I joined a Little League team and was coached by a gentleman by the name of Scotty Reed. Scotty Reed came from Scotland originally. He was a window washer. He was the most enlightened person that I met to that date, because he was he gave me the ability to know that I was not less than, that I had value, that as a person, as a human being, he treated me like an equal. This is a 35-year-old man who's coaching, 9-year-old, 10-year-olds, and 11 and 12, and he's treating me like I had value. Nobody else in my life did that. And so he kept on through each year. He kept on getting me on his team somehow, some way. He would talk to the other coaches. Oh, he's no good. But they tell me, I want you on my team and stuff. And so I did that. And he was a instrumental point in my life to teach me that I'm good and I can be good at whatever I choose to do. And that's one of the things that he said. He looked at me one day and he said, if I stop yelling at you, it means that I've given up on you. So I will never give up on you. So I'm going to continue to yell at you. But he was, and subsequently, 2 years after I aged out at 14, he fell out of a window that he was washing and passed away. And I felt, to this day, I feel like he was here specifically to help me through that particular dark period of time and to get me to the next place that I needed to be, where the next person was going to step in line to do the same. So I agree with you 100%. It's just the way that I think it happens to all of us. And if you go back and look at your life from a not a telling yourself a story point of view, but from a this is what actually happened, and be open to it, you'll see that wonderful things happen to us all the time, don't they?
I love what you shared. And I would also say that if so, it almost requires, my teacher called it laser vision. He said, develop laser vision, which helps you see past all appearances, and you'll be able to see that deeper than anything else, there's a basic foundation of unconditional love that's deeper than. And I also just want to express respect and compassion, because from a human level, it's super hard to grow up. Like you said it was really painful, and he was like this instrument of kindness and healing, and he saw you. And I would say for me, Mr. Fish was the name of my 4th grade teacher, who was also my 5th grade teacher. He saw me. Like, he saw me. It's amazing to be seen. And so for everyone, I think it's people are seen by different figures in their life. So sometimes there's like a kind grandmother or grandfather or aunt or uncle or mom or dad who really sees you. Or sometimes there's a sibling or a cousin or a friend or a neighbor or a teacher or a coach, as you mentioned, who really sees you. And so I would say for any listener, suspend your kind of human judgments and ask the light within you to show you who have been the really key figures in my life who helped me to be seen as I truly am, who just saw me in simplicity, in purity, who saw my light, who saw my kindness, who saw my mischievous, who saw my sense of humor, like whatever it is that your particular qualities are for each listener. Those people, they have been there. And so I would also say, like, even though you mentioned your coach has left the physical realm, my teacher has left the physical realm, it's still possible to express gratitude and love and respect, and they will receive it. In consciousness, they will receive it. And then also, if you are looking at your life and you have this openness and this sort of, oh my gosh, I'm noticing and appreciating this person was so pivotal. They were so kind. They, like I have heard a 1st grade teacher who a student told her, you are the first person in my life who's been kind to me. And that's huge, right? But then the more that we connect with that kindness and we connect with that appreciation, like, thankfully that person was kind to me and that let me know there are kind humans in this world, then we're moving in that energy of kindness. We're able to pass that energy of kindness on, and then actually more kindness will flow to us as well. So the more we're sort of noticing, oh, the light has been with me all along. Kindness has been supporting me in sometimes like really surprising and cool ways that I wouldn't expect or anticipate humanly, then that flows to us even more. And so we're really, like, one way to look at this is we're sort of like shifting and uplifting our energy, our frequency, our vibration. And then we'll move more and more in that field of kindness, that field of positivity, like in your intro, right? We're moving more and more in that feeling of like, life is actually kind of an amazing adventure. And then we're moving in the adventureness of it all the time. And it just becomes a joy and a delight.
It is amazing to me that there are some people, and I don't know why this is, but there are some people that will look at the statements that you just made and that I just made, and they'll poo-poo it, and they'll say, oh, that person that was nice to me and kind to me, they were okay, but it was that other guy that was so mean to me, and I created a story around that, and that's the story of my life is because of the mean guy, and we poo-poo the wonderful people that are in our lives. Why do you think it is we do that?
So, good question. May I offer a solution?
Swami, that's why you're here, by gum.
So, what I would say, and so I also do want to really acknowledge humans create really traumatic, painful circumstances for other humans because we forget the reality of connectedness, right? And so is it okay, with your permission, if we use your example, because you bravely and honestly shared it, but you said
Yes.
until the coach told you, like, I see you, I see your talent, I see your goodness, I see that you can do whatever you set out to do, you said you had felt less than. And
Yes.
so for the humans in your life who made you feel less than, they actually could only do that if they were acting out of ignorance and were not seeing with clear vision. I'm saying that with respect. I don't mean to disrespect any of those humans.
Well, and no, and the older I get, and I've discovered that every family, to some degree or another, is dysfunctional, and because of that, things like things that I didn't know at the time. If you took my brother, my sister, and I, the three of us, and put us in a room, and we were talking about our childhood, you'd think we lived in different houses.
Yeah.
And so my sister was 5 years older. She was tasked with keeping two boys quiet and fed and stuff because my mom was sick and my dad didn't want to have anything to do with it and stuff like that. So it became, and I was the youngest, so I was the one that was always less than because I didn't have anyway. So, but those are stories though, those
Yeah.
that we tell ourselves. And my sister and I now are wonderful friends and stuff because I recognize that was not her fault and it was
Perfect.
just a story.
So that's super healing. So you've gone through that process of healing. And so one of the things that I think could help, like any listener who's like, but this happened to me. How do I bring healing and how do I bring understanding into this? This is a question that my teacher posed. He said basically, our soul, you could use the word the divine or the universe if you like to use that word instead, but the word that he used was our soul or our inner being. My inner being must have had a powerful reason for allowing me to have that experience. What is the purpose of it? And then to allow yourself to really listen. Because, again, if we can use your example, because you're so brave and honest to share it, I would actually say, I'm just positing this, but that because you learned that even though someone wasn't seeing you clearly then, you learned, I'm still here. I'm still me. I'm still able to create this positivity out of a really painful situation humanly. That actually, at a very young age, was helping launch you on the path of what you're doing now. So, all along the way, I agree with what you said about every single episode or experience, whatever word you want to use in our life, it's always unfolding spiritual gifts. And so once we learn what the spiritual gifts are, then we can keep those and we can forgive ourselves for having experienced the difficulty, the pain, the challenge, and we can let the pain go. So we can keep the spiritual gifts, we can keep the wisdom, we can keep the understanding. And I love what you said as well. You've reached that harmony with your sister. Like, that's awesome. That is so beautiful as well, to be able to reach out and to build bridges and create connections in that light, in that love, in that kindness, in that understanding.
In my world, when you take the negative emotion away and you look at it for what it is from all sides of what was she going through? What was my mom going through? What was my dad going through? What was my older brother doing, hanging me by the neck and all that kind of, and in all of those circumstances, if we look at it without the negative emotion of, they were so mean to me and you understand that we're just human. We're just trying to get through this the best that we can. And by the way, I love talking to you. You are remarkable. And we need to take a break. But Swami, your last name, please.
Swami Nityananda. And Kevin, it's a joy to talk with you.
It's great. I'm telling you, I'm having the time of my life. And we will be right back after this.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
All righty. I hope that woke everybody up. My name is Kevin McDonald. You're listening to Positive Talk here on the Brushwood Media Network. We're talking to Swami, and I'm not even going to try because I'll massacre it again.
Swami Nityananda.
And you can go to our website, which is awakeyogameditation.org. And you can, that's correct, isn't it?
You got it.
And you can find out all about her. I highly recommend that you learn about inner peace, how to attain inner peace. And there are practices that you can do, yoga being one of them. I remember when I was growing up in this same period of time, meditation was of the devil and it was considered to be bad and nobody does that kind of thing. And because I grew up in a Lutheran home. But as I got a little older, I discovered that, boy, I meditate all the time and didn't even know it in various ways and various, because I would be quiet and I'd be self-reflective and that sort of thing. But yoga helps with that a great deal, doesn't it?
Well, first of all, so that's a really interesting, I don't know if there's a question in there, but it's a really interesting observation just because there are deeply profound Christian traditions of meditation as well. So for any listener who finds that interesting, I think that's important to note, is that there are really wonderful Christian traditions of meditation. And so be aware of that. And that kind of makes it clear that it's intrinsic to the Christian tradition as well. It's not only something that comes from India.
Well, and also they would call it, in my world, they would call it prayer, which
Right.
is
Yeah.
you know, a different, it's different, but it's really is the same, because you're trying to be quiet and stuff. But in any event, I firmly believe in yoga. I do it all the time. Or in I don't do yoga because I'm not bendable. But then I found out that you don't need to be bendable to do yoga. Who knew?
It's really true that I would say yoga, the asanas, the physical postures, are becoming more and more accessible so that you can sit in a chair, you can do yoga. And you're right, there's a lot of different ways, even if you're not a super flexible person, to do yoga. Yeah. And meditation, I would say as well, there are so many different entry points into meditation. And so you were kind of saying you grew up naturally in a meditative awareness, which is really beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And then it's possible to cultivate that meditative awareness and learn through whatever approach resonates with you. For any listener, you'll find an approach that resonates with you if you're interested in meditating. And then what happens is you cultivate quiet and you become aware of that inner peace within yourself. And I would say there's what's the right way to put this? Gradually, one becomes established in inner peace. So one is, even in conversation, there's a quiet, there's an inner quiet, there's an awareness of guidance, there's an awareness of divine presence, whatever your word for it is. I use the word divine, but that light, that love, that larger than human support that is present and available with and within every one of us. And so meditation simply helps you connect with that reality. And the yogic teachings, and I'm talking about the yoga philosophy teachings, they make it very clear this is actually our true reality. So our true reality is not to be with our attention scattered in 50 directions, feeling frazzled. But our true reality and our true nature is to feel this simple, clear, calm, steady, good-humored awareness. And then we have the ability, this is back to that idea that each of us can focus our attention. Laser vision was the word that my teacher used. But each of us can choose to focus our attention. And so then that is a deeply healing reflection and recognition. It's kind of like, I'm going back a little bit to this example of, like, say that a listener is experiencing a challenging event in their life or a challenging relationship or frustration or something like that. When I'm in contact with this inner peace within myself, I gain clarity that I'm the one who decides, am I going to give that external circumstance the power to determine how I feel? Or am I going to choose from within myself how I feel, independent of whatever the circumstance is, whatever the situation is? So the point of presence, the point of determining how do I meet everything in time and space, it's actually always within me. And as soon as I recognize that, then it's like, you could call it like a radical self-responsibility or something like that. Then I know I have the ability to choose to focus on this simplicity, this peace from within myself always, and to not give anyone power to determine my mood or to determine how I feel. I can choose from within myself what my mood is and how I feel.
That is beautiful, because ultimately you is all you've got, and you can, nobody else can make you feel anything. unless you choose to allow them power over you. And nobody has the right to have that power over you, nor do you have that right to have power over somebody else. I wanted to ask you, because I have a coworker. She's quite a bit younger than me, and she is going through some issues in her life, and she's looking for a firmness of direction and that sort of thing. And so I said to her, okay, you're 25 years old. And she said, yes. And I said, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go find a really quiet place. And I want you to sit there. And I want you to imagine yourself 20 years from now. And I want you then to determine and to decide in yourself, within your heart, where you want that 42 or 45-year-old person to be in life. And then I want you to think about that and then act on as if you had a plan to get to where you wanted to be when you're 45. And that will change everything about you. Was I close?
That's absolutely beautiful. That's so lovely. Did your coworker do it? Do you know any?
She's
Your
she's working on it now
She's working on it now.
because she said that is something she had never considered. And most of us don't. We go from disaster to disaster, experience and choice to choice, and we don't. But if you were to look at it as a game plan for your life, of who you choose to be, how you choose to interact with other people, and the kindness that you can display, then it can change everything about who you are and where you're going, and will impact your life in a grand, adventurous way.
Yeah, I love what you said. Like, that's just beautiful. And then I would also say, so let me think of how to say this. I think instantly that it's possible to turn within. So for anyone of any age, like, I realize some listeners are already in their life, right? Like, they already have a family, they already have a spouse, they already have a career. And so for you, it might be slightly different because you've created these structures around yourself. And so the question might be slightly different. It might be, how may I turn within? It's always a turning within. Like, this is what you were talking about with go to a room, just be with yourself for a little while, be quiet, allow the stillness to help you and support you and guide you. But it's almost like each of us instantly can turn within and can ask, there is this light within me. It's always present within me. And it always, I would use the word flow, or it's always flowing. So as I open to this light, I can allow that light to support me and guide me. It's spontaneous. Like, I didn't know anything that you and I were going to talk about today. So this is all the light. And this is just the way the light naturally expresses through me. So the light expresses through everyone. The light expresses through the spouse, through the grandparent, through the child, through the pet, through the neighbor, through the colleague, through whoever it is that you encounter with. The light is expressing naturally through that person, using their talents and their skill sets. And so for each of us, if our life is in one shape, maybe we like that shape, but we're sort of like, how can I feel more free and more joy within these structures that my life is taking right now? That's always possible. So we always can turn within and can just invite an inner quiet, an inner exuberance, an inner peace, an inner simplicity, an inner security, an inner creativity to flow. And then that flows into the relationship with the spouse, with the kids, with the parents, with the work, with the career, like whatever it is. And so I would just add that as well, because I think for some people, if they're in that place of like, I want to envision, right? Like, I'm at this kind of starting point of my life and I want to envision, then what you were talking about is perfect for that. And actually, even if you're talking about a 45-year-old listener who has built a lot of life, you can do the same thing. You can say, okay, 20 years from now, what would be interesting? What would I love to create? But then also right now, how would I love to feel? Like, how would I love to, do I want to feel more peace right now? Because I have the ability, each person has the ability to turn within and to say, I'm opening to a greater feeling of peace in this very moment. Do I want to feel more curiosity? I'm turning within. I'm opening to feel more curiosity.
And when we come back, we need to take a station break. But when we come back with Swami, I'm gonna, because I I know that what you're saying is absolutely true, and we're going to go down that road a little bit more. So stay right with us. We'll be right back after this station break.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And you know, Swami, I'm playing that commercial. We got a lot of work to do. We got a lot of work to do for our families, for our kids, for our world, because I know years ago I thought maybe, now I know we are all one. We're all connected to each other. We're all the same energy. We're all an important piece of the whole, even though we're broken up into 8 billion little pieces. But we're all part of the whole, and we need to. We need is a bad word. Sorry, we would be better served if we were to recognize that we are all one and to work together for the betterment of everybody. I know you agree with that.
So one of the things that I think the yoga philosophy and meditation approach would help us realize is we cannot help another without also helping ourselves. And the corollary, we cannot harm another without also harming ourselves. And so every time we're choosing the energy of kindness, we're directly helping ourselves as well as the one to whom we share kindness.
Yeah, you know, I was told. Now, Neil Donald Walsh says this in Conversations with God, and there are also lots and lots of other writings, and I'm sure it's in the yoga philosophy as well, is if you want to be truly happy, give happiness to somebody else.
Absolutely. Right. So the energy, like the energy of positivity that you put out, that comes back to you. And that's just the way energy works. And so for anyone, the more that we choose to bring the energy of peace, be the calmest person in the room, that energy of calm, that energy of peace will come back to you. The more that you choose to be joyful, the more that energy of joy will come back to you.
Yes, absolutely. Why don't I know that when we come here, we go through a period or we forget everything that we knew on the other side. And that's with a purpose, so that we don't get contaminated by what we learned from before. It's so that we can learn the lessons that we came here specifically to learn this time. At least that's my philosophy. Is that, do I need medication, or is that a good philosophy?
So I was talking to someone in their 90s last week who's I would use the word conscious. Like I would say what you just said, you're conscious, like you're aware. The light within me is always there. Even if I have gone through humanly challenging circumstances, the light within me was present the whole way through, and it guided me. It helped me to spiritually grow through whatever those circumstances were. So this 90, I think she's actually maybe 94 person who I was talking to last week, she was looking back. And I know at the time, some of the things she was talking about were challenging, but she said, all of my experiences, they've made me who I am. I wouldn't be who I am without all of my experiences. I was growing. I was learning. And so even though at the time, her human self might have said, that is a non-preferred experience from a human perspective.
Yeah.
Now herself, her conscious self, looks back on that and says, I was growing. And it actually, she used this phrasing. She said, it turned out to be a blessing. Now I realize it was a blessing. At the time, it was not what her human self would have chosen. And she said, now I realize it was a blessing. And so I would say, she was referring to an event that maybe happened like 10 years prior. Sometimes it takes the passage of 10 years
Yep.
for your human self to be able to sort of expand into that conscious awareness of that actually was a blessing. That actually was the best thing that happened to me. And I would just smilingly share with you all and with your listeners, I'm blessed to talk with many, many people from all different backgrounds, all walks of life, all nationalities, and I'm sure you do the same. But one of the things people consistently report to me is that sometimes they pray very intently for something. Like their human self is praying, like thinking, I want this to happen. And then later they'll report back to me and they'll say, thank God that prayer didn't get answered. And so there's like a higher good that is being served. And sometimes at the moment, our human self is not always fully aware of that higher good. And so we might be struggling, we might be grasping, we might be praying with our whole heart, thinking that one particular outcome is the best. And then 10 years later or 10 months later, we might realize, oh, thank God, the divine knew what the divine was doing.
Well, I I look at that and go, see, I firmly believe I've got a team of guides, angels, entities on the other side who are vested in my success in this life today. And so consequently, when I ask for something, they may say, well, it's a good thing to ask for, but you ain't ready. There's some things that we need to do with you to get you ready for what you are doing next. And to get, as an example, 20 years ago, I had a why am I here moment, and I had no idea how I was going to manifest that. And 20 years, if you'd have told me 20 years ago that I'd be sitting here talking with you and have 1 million people listening, I would say you're high, you're nuts. But it's coming true. And it's because of all the things, but it didn't come through right away. I had to go through what I like to call my bad country music song period. My dad died, my dog died, my wife left, I lost my house, and on and on. But that was part of the journey that has led me to where I am today, because I survived all of that, and it actually was for my betterment and for the good of other people that are around me today and the folks that I have, because I get to talk to high energy people like you.
It is a joy to talk with you. And also, just first, congratulations, respect, happiness. Like, what a delight that you're able to share so much joy and light with listeners. That's magnificent. And then also sympathy and respect, because on a human level, what you're talking about, that's not easy to go through. And so for any listener, I would say, if you are going through those challenges, to just kind of keep the faith, keep going, and always be opening to there's a deeper purpose to this, like whatever I'm going through. So Kevin, you just illustrated this. For any human experience we have, it's going to be of assistance somehow, sometime, some way. It's going to be of assistance. You're going to be able to learn and bring healing to yourself in relation to whatever you're experiencing. And then you will be able to support and empower others to learn and bring healing to themselves. So you don't actually do the healing for the others. You just say, this is how it worked for me. And that connects with the energy of healing that's already present in the listener. And then the listener is sort of activating that healing energy from within themselves. And so it's really joyful. I mean, it's like this, I don't know, like fireworks going off, right? So as you describe that, that becomes present and available and possible in the lives of everyone who's listening. And it's also like deeply unique and independent and self-activated. So for every listener, you've got that energy of like fireworks of positivity within you. And it's just a matter of trusting. And sometimes you trust and you keep going, right? Like you trust and you keep going through, I'm going to put one foot forward, then I'm going to put the next one forward. And I ask that whatever I'm going through, I'm always aware my spirit is whole. My light is intact within me. And I'm letting go of resistance. I'm open to the wisdom I'm open to the divine love, which is already with me. And I ask that whatever happens in my life, it helps me to be more present, to be more of service, to be more hopeful, to be more helpful to any human I encounter. Another way to put this is whatever we're praying for, and I highly recommend prayer. I am a person who prays. I love prayer. Ask that the highest good be done. Whatever your phrasing for it is, like pray, this is what I would love to see happen, divine grace. And I trust absolutely the highest good will be done. And then there's almost like a non-attachment, which allows the divine to work more fluidly and more freely and more fully in your life.
And that is really, really so true. And just one more quick example. When I was in management and was a district sales manager, and I was a chicken salesman manager guy for a chicken company, and flew all over the United States, played great golf courses, and had hoity-toity dinners with vice presidents and all these big people and all of that. Well, the last 12 years of my life before I retired and to do this full time, I was a bus driver in Seattle. And so I had gone from talking to vice presidents who were making $500,000 a year or $1 million or $2 million or whatever it was, to people who didn't have $2 to put into the bus fare. And I had to reconcile the fact that they are every bit as good and valuable a human being as the guy who makes $6 million a year or whatever it is. And so, and everybody has their own things that they're going through life. And we just need to approach everybody with kindness and love, because they'll get through it. There's no question that we're all going to survive this. This is the favorite thing I like to say is we're going to survive it. Promise.
I love your example, and also just so much joy and gratitude because you were bringing your positive energy to everyone who got on that bus. And so, just to know, like, someone might be working as a housekeeper at a school. They might be like waxing the floors of the school. If they do it with this conscious awareness of light within themselves, they're actually spreading light throughout that entire school. And so the other thing I would say is, like, every contribution matters. Like, every human has beauty and dignity and awesomeness. And so please never, like, from an outside level, judge what your profession is or what your work is or what your experiences are. The light is fully with you and within you. And wherever you are, like, I talk to people who've been not experiencing housing, right? And they have to, like, ride a bus all night long because they don't have a place to be. But depending on how they approach it, like, one of the people I talked to said, I'm having a blast. Like, I talk to everybody. I spread this positive energy with everybody that I encounter on the bus. And so even going through that experience of not having a physical home for that particular time, it's possible to let all of our experiences remind us, I have light within myself. Everyone that I encounter has light within myself. From this perspective of light, there's no human who's better or worse than anyone else. And there's no role that's more meaningful or less meaningful than any other role. And so for every human to know, like, you are perfect right where you are, the magnificence of the light is within you, and it's with you always. It's already there. So no matter what you're doing, just connect with that light, and you will feel an instant feeling of relief and a feeling of peace and a feeling of positivity, a feeling of, I can let go of, if I have been comparing myself to other humans, let go of that. If there's been judgment involved, if you've been judging yourself, let go of that. If you've been judging other humans, let go of that. Just respect and appreciate the light in you, respect and appreciate the light in others. One of the advice that yogis traditionally give is, if you see a virtue in another human, cultivate that within yourself. If you seem to see a fault in another, correct that in yourself. And so they're always, like, sort of turning me back to look at myself, right? Like, take accountability is the word I think we would use today for myself.
Well, and really, that's all there is yourself. And you cannot. I learned this when I was driving a bus. I would talk to people that were, why are you using drugs? Said I can't stop. Or I'm trying, or whatever it was. And it's like, okay, well, you're doing the best you can. It's not my job to look down on you for that. And some people get on the bus, and you're right. They had such wonderful energy, and they were so kind to everybody that they met on the bus. To them, it was an exciting way for meeting people is to ride the bus. And so we're all different, but we're all united in the fact that we're human beings and we need to take care of each other, and because we are all one. I need to take one more quick break. I promise. It's just 30 seconds. I'm having too much fun talking to you, but we're talking with
Swami Nityananda.
Thank you very much. I was gonna call you a yogi, but you're a Swami, and we'll be right back. Before I gotta shut up.
A lifetime of savings can disappear overnight. Millions of dollars are stolen every day from unsuspecting older adults by family members, caregivers, and trusted professionals. If you suspect financial exploitation, call the Elder Care Locator at 1-800-677-1116 or go online to the National Adult Protective Services Association to be connected with help in your area.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We're talking with Swami
Nityananda.
Thank you. And you can go to our website, which is awakeyogameditation.org. Find out all about her, and perhaps give her. And you don't mind if people email you and give you a call, do you?
Absolutely. Swami@awakeyogameditation.org is my email. Please chime in.
You are a wonderful resource to have in your back pocket if you're trying to negotiate through life, because a lot of people, I meet tons and tons of people that have been victimized by the story that they tell themselves or that other people have told them, and they're not able to rise above to live their life to be as full and understand. And you said it earlier, we're all great. We're born great. It seems like we spend a lot of our time trying to disprove the fact that we are great. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, as you were talking, I was smiling, and I guess like maybe one way to put it into words is the light within us is whole always, like the whole way through. So for every listener to look back over your life, if you like, and maybe even take some quiet, like go into a quiet room and spend a few moments of quiet with yourself, look back over your life, and the light within you has been with you the whole way through. The light within you, it's beautiful, it's whole, it's intact. No matter what experiences you have gone through, your light is undimmed. There is nothing that can diminish your light. And that's the reality. And then I would say, like, what happens is, I think even that as kids, I mean, it's not always the case, clearly, but I think we can retain that sense of connectedness, that sense of wholeness. And then what happens is, at some point along the way, human judgments come into play. And you use the word less than. They start to make us feel disconnected from that light within ourselves. And each human has their own light, and each human has their own experience, their own journey through time and space. And I would say maybe in one way, what each of us is invited to do is to look back and to realize, actually, my light was with me the whole way through. So you used the example of a passenger on the bus who was dependent on substances at that particular point in their life. The light is still with them. They are temporarily, the light is hidden. They're temporarily obscuring their connectedness and their awareness of the light, but the light is still deeper than that. Even someone who has gone through that particular experience. And so the light is there. And, there's the processes, I think it's called recovery. And that includes coming back into contact with the light that is within you. So no matter what human experience any listener has gone through, be in contact with the wholeness of that light. And when you do that, it can help you forgive the different humans in your life who were involved in any of the painful experiences that might have been part of your trajectory. And it can help you forgive yourself for having any of the particularly difficult or challenging human experiences that might have been part of your journey as well. And then you're back in that realm of, I'm going to keep the wisdom, I'm going to keep the understanding, I'm going to keep what I learned from that, but then I don't have to carry the pain. And if there's been any shame or blame or guilt, I can also release myself from carrying any of that as well. And so we come back into our true high vibration, high frequency, joyful, natural, pure selves when we do that process.
And it is so much more fun to be in a higher vibration and to appreciate life, and to even to just go outside as you're leaving your house for the day and going to work. Now, you grew up in the Northwest, and so you know what it's like to walk up to an evergreen tree that's 75 feet tall, and you touch it, or you just have your hands on the trunk, and you can feel the vibration of the tree because it's alive. Everything is alive. And it's just, if we can recognize that, and not put so many conditions and stuff and things in our way, and just kind of relax and enjoy our time here, because it's very short. My mother swore that she was going to live to be 112. Well, she didn't make it. And it was just a matter of one day she was here, the next day she wasn't. And so you never know, but live every day like it's your last.
Yeah, blessings and respect to your mother. And also, I really love what you said. It's not complicated. It's very simple. This natural energy, it's always with us. Like, I live in the city, but I can walk outside. And as you said, like, I can touch a tree or just look at a tree. I'm looking out the window right now, looking at a tree, and you can connect with that feeling of being grounded, rooted, calm, steady. But then also trees spire into the sky, which reminds us of that aspect of ourselves, that we spire into the heavens as well. And so just as trees do, we're always kind of connecting the earth and the heavens. We're connecting the visible and the invisible, the finite and the infinite. And so you're right. Then we become aware of the light in each of us. It's always supported, always. The energy that brings the whole universe into manifestation brings each of us here. Another way to put that, the love that is visible in the sun is what beats the heart of each of us. And so it's love that is beating the heart of each of us. And as soon as we recognize that, I mean, turn and thank your heart, because your heart is amazing. Every heartbeat is the love of the divine, the love of the infinite in that form. And the same thing, like, it's as close as our own breath. That breath is the breath of the infinite, the breath of the eternal, the breath of the divine, each breath breathing through us. And you're also completely right. It's a gift. Every single moment is a gift. It's a miraculous gift and a divine adventure to be here.
Oh, you're so true. By the way, Swami,
Nityananda.
thank you. It has been my pleasure. I just love talking to you. Will you come back and see me again?
I would love it.
Awesome. We're going to make that happen. We've got just about 45 seconds. So I want you to tell our audience anything you'd like them to know.
I mean, first of all, blessings and joy, and trust the light within yourself. The light within you is amazing. If you like to connect with Awake Yoga Meditation, we are Awake Yoga Meditation, and we're in Baltimore. And all of our meditations are available online free. So go to awakeyogameditation.org. I shared my email address earlier. It is swami@awakeyogameditation.org. Check out our website. There are many, many free resources that will help you connect with the teachings that we were talking about today.
And you can find her also on YouTube, Positive Talk Radio channel, and also positivetalkradio.net. That'll be up in about 3 or 4 days, and we'll have all your contact information and everything there. I highly recommend, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling less than, stop it. Be more than. Go talk to her and learn how to do yoga. Learn some of the things that you may have never considered in your life. It can quite literally change everything. Don't you think?
I absolutely agree. I think that, well, one of the things that I would say, you were kind of mentioning this earlier, we always meet what is next for us. So when we're ready, we will meet our teacher. There's no question. Like, that's the laws of energy. We will meet our teacher when we're ready.
Yes, indeed. Now, and that is a day for you, everybody, to look forward to when you get to meet your teacher, because then you'll be ready, and then it's time for you to enter the next phase of your life. So, Swami, thank you so much for being here.
Kevin, it's a joy to talk with you.
And we'll be right back. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another, because